Holy Mackinaw! Leafs win 3-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks, and they come back from a 2-0 deficit against the Blackhawks, and they get revenge on Chicago after what happened in November. That was the best comeback I've seen this season. Like, we came back from a 3-0 deficit against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think we came back. That's the one. We also came back from a 2-0 deficit many times against teams like, I believe it was Detroit, against the Red Wings, against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and yet those fail. Either it happened in overtime or it happened just at the last minute in regulation. Tonight, the Leafs get the win against the Chicago Blackhawks, and they come back from a 2-0 deficit. What a game tonight, especially on Holy Mackinaw Night. Yeah, you know who says that? Joe Bowen, the guy who does the play-by-play announcing for the Leafs on the radio, whether it's on the Sportsnet 590 The Fan radio or on the TSN radio. And this might be his last season for Joe Bowen. And you know what? I salute you. I mean, I love the dude. I love the guy. He's been the best. He's been one of my favorite, well, technically my favorite radio play-by-play announcers of all time. And I can think of a lot of great play-by-play announcers for myself. Like, you got Chris Cuthbert, who does Sportsnet. Jack Edwards, who used to be the NESN play-by-play announcer. Sam Rosen, who used to be the Rangers play-by-play announcer. And Joe Bowen. All those guys were amazing. I love those guys. Every of their calls, I love. They're amazing. And tonight was especially the night where the Leafs come back. And they, of course, this was for Joe Bowen. And I love it. So before the game starts, there was a ceremony for, I believe it was Joe Bowen, who, of course, there was like a standing ovation, people saying, "Thank you very much, Joe Bowen. You've been the best," this and that. Like some of the thank you messages for Joe Bowen, as this might be his last season, to do play-by-play announcing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, you know, while I'm sad, that's kind of life. That's life. But, you know, I appreciate it. I mean, the ceremony was amazing. I mean, it was just so awesome. I love it. I wish I could have been a Leaf fan I wish I could have been a Leaf fan, and I should have. When I'm really frustrated, I could have been a Leaf fan in 2000, in the late 2000s. You know, hearing Joe Bowen, but I didn't. I didn't because I became a sports fan way late, too late, 2019 when they won the championship. But the damage was already done. There's nothing I could do. Now let's get to the game, and the game was really bad. I don't know how I can put this, but it's in the first period where things completely went wrong. And I know what happened. First period, okay, you start off the face-off. And then, of course, oh my god, some things that went completely wrong here. They go on the face-off, had no other choice. You go into the face-off. The Blackhawks win the face-off. The defense everyone was just MIA. AFK on defense. And Wyatt Kaiser scores off the face-off. It is 1-0 Chicago, 1-0 Blackhawks. And I'm like thinking, well, that's a bad thing because we gave up the one goal to Connor McDavid back on Saturday night, where the Leafs lost 6-3 to the Blackhawks. And no offense, Oilers fans, if I had to say it, I respect the hell out of you. I just don't want to mention that game. And then another goal that was actually supposed to be a good goal on Chicago was actually called back because the Chicago got the goal, but the Leafs challenged the play for goaltender interference, and lo and behold, it was because some move milker pushed Joseph Wool's pad, which was considered goal interference. No goal in Chicago, still 1-0 Chicago. Good stuff. Now the Leafs get on the power play. Leafs get the power play, and what do? They give the puck over to the Blackhawks, where they have a 2-on-1 or something. And Jason Dickerson scores on the shorthanded goal. And the Chicago Blackhawks go up 2-0. And I'm like, well, that's a pain in the butt. That's a pain. We're up down 2-0. I mean, if the Leafs get shut out by Chicago, that would be a problem. So it's 2-0 Chicago, 2-0 Blackhawks. and Craig Berube went ballistic because the Leafs weren't playing really well in the first period. I've seen this before. Well, after the Oilers game, where Craig Berube just called out the Leafs team itself. Like, I'm surprised. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm just like, you can't blame him because the Leafs haven't played their best. They got blown out by the Edmonton Oilers. They blew a 2-0 lead to the San Jose Sharks, and now you're down 2-0 to the Chicago Blackhawks. If we lose this game to a Connor Bedard-less Chicago Blackhawks game, this would be unacceptable. And that was supposed to be the case. But it wasn't. But it was. Because you gave up 2 goals in the first period, which was inexcusable. So it's 2-0 after 20 minutes of play. And then, of course, second period rolls around. We had some opportunities to get back in this game, but Spencer Knight doing Spencer Knight things, stopping every Leafs shot left and right. And there's nothing we can do. We had a chance to get back in this game, but it's so slim it's not funny. So now it's like the Leafs have 40 minutes to play. They had 20 minutes in the second period. They had their chances. They just couldn't do it. Chicago also had their chances. Still couldn't do jack either. Even when the Chicago Blackhawks were given a power play where Dakota Joshua God called for high stick. And surely enough, it wasn't a high stick. Surely enough, the Blackhawks couldn't convert on a power play. Yeah, Leafs had a chance to go on a had a chance to go short. Decided to get a shorthanded goal, but no, there's no shorthanded goal. Leafs just didn't do anything. Had opportunities, can't cash in. Now you go into the third period being down 2-0 to the Chicago Blackhawks, and I'm thinking this could be very bad because if the Leafs get shut out by Spencer Knight and the Blackhawks, I know that would be unacceptable. But that Spencer Knight shutout would be undeserved if that was the case. But that wasn't actually the case because the Leafs strike not only 1 goal, not 2, but 3 goals. They come back with a fury. And guess who actually scores to get the Leafs on the board with plenty of time left to go in the third period? Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He scores back-to-back goals. And the Leafs get on the board. It is 2-1 Blackhawks. Then the Leafs get called. Oh no, excuse me. The Blackhawks get called on the power play. Oh, damn it. The penalty. The Blackhawks get called on a penalty for holding the stick on Nick Robertson. And then the Leafs go in the power play. And then Austin Matthews scores on the power play. It is tied at 2. And then 10 seconds later, after Matthews scores, Dakota Joshua scores. It is 3-2 Leafs. So they came back from a 2-0 deficit, and they win it there. And thank God, because this would have been way worse for Comfort. If that goal was called if that was a good goal on Chicago, it would have been worse. The momentum would have fallen off from there. And the Leafs would have got shut out. Leafs would have gotten shut out, or have gotten destroyed, potentially. But thank God. Thank God for that, because the Leafs beat the Chicago Blackhawks without their best player in Connor Bedard, who unfortunately got injured. I believe it was his shoulder that he injured in that game against the St. Louis Blues when they lost 3-2 to the St. Louis Blues. And you know what? Connor Bedard is an amazing player. He's awesome. But now he's injured. He's going to get rehab. But man, he was a candidate to make the Olympics, man. Now what are you going to do? Now what is Team Canada going to do if they don't have Connor Bedard? We're screwed, aren't we? So I feel pretty bad for Connor Bedard because he injured his arm, his shoulder. I mean, hey, it's injuries. It's injuries. Injuries happen, and it's not fun. But the Leafs however, the Leafs get the win against Chicago. They get revenge after what happened in November, where, of course, the Leafs had a 2-1 lead in the second period. And then, of course, the Blackhawks come back with a fury to make the Leafs blow it in the end. Like, this win was in the bag, like, firmly in their hands. And it gets taken away by the Blackhawks in complete embarrassment. And thank God the Leafs returned fire for doing the same thing again, where the Blackhawks We're up 2-0, and the Leafs said, I'm about to end the Blackhawks' whole career by coming back from a 2-0 deficit, and they win the game 3-2 in regulation. And I'm happy that happened. So happy the Leafs got the win. All right? To end this homestand, they got the win against Tampa Bay where Dennis Hildeby gets his shutout against the Lightning. But there's some mishaps. There's some bad losses where the Leafs got only 1 point out of it, where the Sharks played hero and made the Leafs blow a 2-0 lead. The Habs literally getting the biggest bailout in history, coming back, like only going in a shootout and getting those 2 points, stealing it from us, where we only got 1 point out of it. And the Oilers game was so embarrassing, it wasn't funny. But at last, Leafs get the win. They end this 5-game homestand with 6 points in the bag. Now, this could have been 10 if this could have been more, but that's okay. Could have been a lot worse if we lost this game to the Blackhawks. Could have gotten swept, but thank God the Leafs didn't get swept. I'm so happy the Leafs did not lose this game. Thank God. Or else it would have been a problem. So the Blackhawks are going on a downfall after starting really well. Like, what the hell happened to Chicago? I'll never know. And I'm not going to be that guy that's going to call out the Blackhawks as a laughingstock. I mean, I wish I could. But is there a rebuild done? I'm just saying. Anyways, that's it. Leafs get the win for Joe Bowen on Holy Mackinaw Night, and we go from there. And the Leafs go from there. So that is it for this Leafs rant. For this Leafs 3-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. The next game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they head to Washington, D.C., and they play against the Washington Capitals. And you got to get this win over the Washington Capitals. You got to get revenge on the Capitals, because when you played against the Capitals, it was on Black Friday. The Capitals played hero and they made the Leafs blow a 2-0 lead, which I didn't like. So Leafs got to get revenge on the Capitals. As far as I'm concerned, got to get the win. Leafs got to get the win over the Blackhawks. Damn it! I meant to say the Capitals. Leafs got to get revenge on the Washington Capitals. It's not that hard. We just got to get the win out of it. And then they go to Nashville. They go to Smashville to take on the Predators. Then a second out of a back-to-back where they play against the Dallas Stars. And then they come home to play against the Pittsburgh Penguins right before the Christmas break. And then you continue again where you go in a back-to-back. You play against the Senators at home. You play against the Red Wings on the road. And then after that, you play against the Devils to end 2025. And that's where I'm going to go from there. So Leafs got to get these points so they can get back into the Atlantic Division race. They got to win these games. It's very important, because I don't feel like the Leafs deserve to be in the bottom of the Atlantic Division, like stuck in purgatory world, teams that I don't like the Habs, Sens, Bruins, Red Wings, Panthers out of the bunch to go on the rise to get a playoff spot. I'm so sick and tired of things not going my way, but it has to go their way. I just want to win, okay? Let's just get the win. Let's go on a win streak. Let's cash in some wins. For the love of God, it has to be it. All right? And that's all I got to say. Let's go, Leafs. Yeah!